Yo, what is up folks, Strategy here with the standard metagame challenge in which I'll be playing Blue-Green Toxic and specifically Stock Up Toxic. I've taken a little bit of a break from uploading recently, and part of the reason for that, apart from being a little burnt out, is that I've been playing standard for RCQs and a bit of modern as well. But with the standard metagame challenge here, I thought I would showcase one of the things I've been working on. And this is, I say Blue-Green Toxic, really this is a Rotpriest Combo deck. It's the only creature in the deck with Toxic, and the idea we're trying to do here is get a couple of things into play, or some other ways to duplicate effects of it, or copy spells that we cast targeting creatures to give our opponent a load of poison counters and get them out of the game. We've seen variants of this before. It is like a deck in modern where you've got all the free spells, and it makes a lot of sense. Here, we have to work a little bit harder, but Stock Up helps kind of like fill a few different gaps for us. Which I will get to. So the core of the deck, firstly, at one we've got Llanowar Elves for some additional acceleration. Playing kind of like a noble hierarch role here, giving us more mana to access to. You have to play this on turn 1, and then play one of our kind of like creatures that matter on turn 2, whether that be Rotpriest or Ivy, ready to kind of start comboing, and then have some kind of protection up. Or even potentially go turn 3 Stock Up, look to find either more combo pieces, look to find more instant sorceries to combo with Rotpriest, or find some protection. Or even later on in the game, coming back from like a going back from a board wipe, or post your opponent's interacted with you, trying to find the last couple of points of poison counters. So Llanowar Elf, acceleration, okay, nice, alright, makes sense. Venerate Rotpriest, core of the combo, and then we also have a Mockingbird down here at 1. I say it's a 1 drop, sometimes it's more than that. Generally, we try to use this to get a second copy of Rotpriest into play. Notably, having one with flying is actually really, really good. It means you don't have to use like evasion spells and things like that some of the time. But hey, extra copies of Rotpriest. We have some sideboard cards, like for example, like Obstinate Baloth. One of the reasons these are better in this deck versus Burn than some of the other decks is that you can just like start making loads of copies, especially if you're accelerating into it off like a Llanowar Elf. You're just like, oh, I'm going to gain 4 life, then gain 4 life again, and you got a bunch of 4/4s you can beat down with. Sometimes you'll like copy your opponent's stuff. You might get an Ember Heart Challenger. I've even copied some of the Overlords, which is really, really sweet, but at its core, it's like an extra copy of Rotpriest that we want to try and get 2 of these in play and start comboing. Ivy, Lethal Spell Thief, is our last creature in the deck. Blue-green for 2/1 with flying. Whenever a player casts a spell that targets only a single creature other than Ivy, you may copy that spell. That copy targets Ivy. This not only duplicates all of our kind of protection spells, or like Enter the Enigma, which draws us cards and gives them blockable, in particular Aspirant's Ascent, which gives a creature flying and toxic. All those times it copies will trigger our Rotpriest initial time. Notably also any auras. Really, really solid. We'll just like copy those, attach them to Ivy, and all of a sudden they have to deal with like a giant Ivy in play. Is really, really solid. And so some particular matchups, this is like even better than you think it would be. But again, we're looking to like duplicate the Rotpriest effects. Ivy copies all the spells and stuff. These things all work together. And then we have a range of little sorceries. I talked about the 4 Stock Ups already. This is what I think puts the deck back in, or makes this version of the deck viable. There are things like Commune with Nature, as the problem this deck traditionally has is like finding Rotpriest. And Commune with Nature is like a 1 mana card that like looks at the top 5, which is the same amount, and if you just want the Rotpriest, that's fine. The thing with Stock Up is it kind of gets everything. If you need some protection pieces before you cast your Rotpriest, it gets that. It finds the you can use it to help find the Rotpriest, help find the Mockingbird, help find combo pieces, you can find protection, and it can also like kind of like getting 2 cards at the top 5 really helps you rebuild after getting like temporary lockdown or any kind of other wrath, or potentially some interaction doesn't go your way. And you need to kind of like find some new stuff to work with. Often even, sometimes you'll find yourself finding like another Stock Up and a land, and this deck plays like reasonably well into the mid game, even if late game you're kind of going to struggle a little bit. And then we have that range of sorceries. One nice pickup from Aether Drift for standard was Spell Pierce. Obviously, great protection. In particular, this being able to deal with No Way Out, which is a massive problem for the deck. The 1 in a black, -3/-3, but importantly, gets through Hexproof, and obviously as a -/- spell gets you indestructible, and then also turns off all the ward effects. Yeah, that is a tough one. Temporary lockdown, wraths, opponents actually like instant sorceries that matter for stuff that they're doing. Spell Pierce, great piece of protection. We've got 2 in the main and then 1 also in the board as a bit of like a flex slot. Okay, so first piece of protection here. We then have 2 copies. We're splitting our kind of like hexproof effects between 2 copies of Royal Treatment, 2 copies of Snakeskin Veil, and then 1 copy of Tyvar's Stand. Treatment just gives a creature hexproof but creates a Royal roll. Snakeskin Veil, counter on a creature, gets hexproof. And then Tyvar's Stand is X green, but importantly gives indestructible and hexproof. Protects from like actual wraths. The problem with this in standard is that sometimes those wraths are Sunfall and temporary lockdown. which obviously don't work. But where the decks are playing like Day of Judgment, still very solid. One interesting thing, this is 1 mana at its core, but like hexproof indestructible. Being able to put like X into it, especially like the Lana Royals, means that you can actually kill with like normal damage with Ivy and some other things occasionally. But this is kind of like, I've thought about replacing this with an Overprotect, which gives the +3/+3. The extra mana does matter a lot of the time, but the +3/+3 being able to get around things like No Way Out is actually quite handy. And so that's one consideration you can make if you're looking to change the deck. Notably with Royal Treatment and Snakeskin Veil, passing the +1/+1 counters around and passing the rolls out, is that if you're like targeting your Rotpriest or like even your other creatures and you have Ivy in play, you obviously duplicate the spell, but you're going to get something out of it as well. As well, the Hexproof, you're getting a counter, you're getting a Royal Roll. Hey, quite nice, quite nice. And then we have some interaction of our own. Bounce Off and Serum Snare, these are both like, these are all bounce effects. I have thought about playing, and I had at some point, a this town ain't big enough, in the deck in the place of one of these. Serum Spare is nice, it's a bit more expensive, but being able to proliferate can often find you the last point of damage. Like you might just cast this, target your Rotpriest, and all of a sudden that's like 2 points of poison. That occasionally will just finish your opponent off. Also, and then like Bounce Off, obviously just like interaction versus aggro decks. Sometimes you're like bouncing Oculus or some other weird thing as well, and you just like tempo your opponent out of the game a little bit. As well as occasionally you'll use it to like pick up your own Rotpriest, which is reasonable. One other thing about this is that obviously like picking up a Rotpriest is okay, picking up Mockingbird is a lot worse. If you're like having to sacrifice, you're choosing between the Rotpriest and like a flying Rotpriest, sometimes you'll want to like sacrifice the non-flying one, but then if they have like this town or something like that, they bounce the Mockingbird, and all of a sudden you've got no good targets. You're like, oh well, this is really awkward. So something to bear in mind. And then we have some like actual kind of like go instances of sorceries in terms of like getting through damage or passing some more toxic out. And we've got 4 Enter the Enigma and 4 Aspirant's Ascent. Aspirant's Ascent gives us evasion and then flying, and then also extra toxic. It does stack like that. So if you have toxic 1 and you already have toxic 1, it'll do 2 points of toxic. Similarly, the +1/+3 is a really important number. It gets you out of range of some of the black removal in the format, as well as obviously some of the red removal. Also, the flying lets you do some like interesting blocking. So you can use this defensively for blocking or just like surviving damage-based removal. Also dodges the 1 mana black removal spell, which I can't for some reason remember off the top of my head. But hey, yeah. And additionally, like this is another good thing to copy with Ivy. You can go like, oh, I'm gonna like, I'll give like my Lana Royale for my Rotpriest flying toxic. Duplicate this over here. Get all the Rotpriest triggers. Get all the extra toxic damage in. Similarly, Enter the Enigma does something very similar, but getting to like draw a bunch of cards by playing one of these with an Ivy in play is also really, really nice. And so hey, that kind of like rounds the deck out. The mana base is very, very straightforward. It is a little tricky in that we have a bunch of 1 mana spells we want to cast that are different colors of mana. That's why I'm not playing any of the colorless lands. That's why I'm not playing any of the Phyrexian lands either. In particular, we've only got 1 actual Phyrexian creature in the deck, which is a bit weird. But 4 Yavimaya, 4 Willowish Verge, 4 Botanical Sanctum, kind of 6 Forest, 3 Island. This split is kind of like making up for the fact that Willowish Verge taps a blue by default. It's a little bit awkward, but this is where I am at the moment. And then, because this is best of 3, I'll talk about the sideboard as well. That one copy of Spell Pierce is a bit of a catch-all. Domain can be an interesting matchup. They have a lot of Wrath and things. I have these 2 Disdainful Strokes there. That's got a lot more popular, but it's also a pretty good matchup for our deck. 2 Ghost Vacuums. I'm still playing these. There are some instances of either like Oculus or other graveyard decks where like these are pretty handy, and I'd rather be safe than sorry. Rest of the slow more controlling matchups, I've got 2 copies of Oko the Ringleader and 2 copies of Nissa Ascendant Animist. 2 Poor patch formations. These come in quite often, dealing with things like lane binding or temporary lockdown, as well as like potentially like some of the other important like flying creatures that matter. And then I'm kind of hedging a little bit for Esper / Blueback Bounce with 4 copies of Obstinate Baloth. That is unfortunately a pretty awkward matchup, mostly because of No Way Out, which just turns off all of our indestructible, all of our hexproof and ward effects, which is super, super awkward. Yeah, hey. But we have a pretty over sideboard. You have some like decent options in blue and green. The other cards are kind of interesting here. Obviously, it comes down off 1 mana. We can accelerate into it off of Lana Royals. You're going like start making creatures, but then has the upside of being able to be like an extra copy of Rotpriest on our turn. Is a little like I've still not decided if this is good enough yet. The problem is if you like play it down ticket and all of a sudden you have like a 2 mana 2 loyalty planeswalker in play, which is a bit vulnerable. But you get a 3/3, so like in theory like they have to deal with it, or you make another one. It's just not that good on either an open board because our deck is not very good at blocking, or like maybe your opponent has like some kind of damage based removal like a Lightning Helix. The Nest is really good. One of the advantages of playing like Lana or Elves in this deck, we're playing 21 lands. You might think like 5 mana is like quite a lot, but with stock up around here to like dig for extra lands and the Nisses and sideboard cards themselves, actually like pretty achievable, I think. And then yeah, the Balos also come in versus Burn. Part of this, like they're not always good here being 4 mana, but the way our deck's configured with Lana or Elves and in particular Mockingbird, being able to like copy it and gain another 4 life and then another 4 life is really nice. And so hey, that's the sideboard. Let's get into some games. Like I said, it is single elimination. We'll see how this goes. And yeah, if you're not ready, please subscribe to the channel. I have been taking, as I said, a little bit of a break. I've not uploaded in, at this point, maybe even about a month. But hopefully, we'll be uploading like fairly regularly going forward. Let's get into some games. All right. There's been a play, which is nice. This is a mulligan. This is a keep. We're not as punished here. More sense to get rid of one of which are earlier in this thing. We have a 1-land hand, but again we have the Lana or Elf here. At least helps a little bit. If it tanks a removal spell, it tanks a removal spell. It tanks a oh, we do draw into time. Okay, nice. I'll go ahead and make the Rotpriest, and we'll say good. We could like snare here, depending on what they do. They should cast a High Claw. This stack up pretty quickly. I actually take damage to do this, but I think I want to get one of these High Claws off the battlefield. Do we lose a trade if they have? And if monstrous, if they have monstrous rage, then they'll live. The nice thing about this is that like, they got the poison chaos we're talking about. If you end up using the Tywell stand, it is really awkward for sure. Not enough to kill the Rotpriest. You don't. Every time I thought we were forced to cast a Tywell stand, but we're actually fine. The Verge here. We've got to bounce this. I'll attack with this. If they block, we will just Tywell stand for the +X. Yeah, sure. Cast is actually 1. Yeah. Feels awkward, kind of like casting with suiting removal spells. I think what they do, we have options as Serums there, Rotpriest to get out of danger. That's fine. Unless it was like still like reasonable for now. That is annoying. How do we want to deal? You bounce the Heartfire Hero. We bounce the Manifold move. They play a land house. I think we have to go this route. Like I love to bounce the Higher Claw, but the mouse is gonna be what kills this route. This is about like 2 turns. This is coming in for 3. End of the world. We do have kind of nothing going on though. We'll make one of these attacks, see if they block. We'll cast the 1 spell. This is where like the mulligan to 6 really hurts. We just like have less resources. But we're kind of still getting our job done a little. The extra tax on removal spells is reasonable, and this being a 2/3 and not a 1/2 is big versus burst lightning and such. Also, like getting the Manifold Mass of the board so we can't just is good. Good pump here, looks like it. Sure. So we go down to 10. 1, 2, 3. It's a 7. Back here. Try and live. Now 8. So you like have another mail. One. We need to find 4 points of point somewhere. You don't die to this, right? And they both. We're blocking like 1 damage max. We're not actually getting an extra turn with the Aspirant's Descent. So I'm gonna take 4, 7. If they're monstrous rage, we're dead regardless. Right. I see. The logical thing to do is block here. I think our best route to winning the game is to just say like block. 2. We draw lethal, so they get up to 6 poison here, and we need to do 4. I mean, yes and no. The extra mana might help, might be required as well, though. I'm gonna send it blocks here. Bounce off. That's not doing. Three, 2, 8. We were dead to these things. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. This is why stock up is so important. Just be able to find more resources. Okay. So my plan for red is to bring these Baloths. The reason why they're better here than would be like normally versus red, the Mockingbirds. Realistically, the 4 Baloth hedges for the like this town decks trying to like use the like 1 mana hopeless. There is the 1 mana discard enchantment. Yeah. The Serum Snares are of the whole too slow. And I'm going to trim down on 2 copies of Enigma. Reason being that Aspirant's Ascent saves us from damage-based removal. Here, I still want the Spell Pierces, I think, just about, with like stock up floating around. Sorry, with like Monstrous Rage and other like removal. Part of the downside to playing Spell Pierce is that we have less like protection effects that trigger Rotpriest. But I think we still want to do this. It's a little tricky. There are definitely games where the Spell Pierces don't do very much. And they go mouse into mouse, and we're on the back foot. Yeah. This is also single Elium. I think I mentioned that. And this is an interesting one. So we have Rotpriest, and we can leave with that. Front has mulligan too. Do you not just want to get our Rotpriest burst lightning though? So we're not going to play on someone. I'm just gonna tempo bounce this Hieroclaw. Just like keep us ahead of the game. We have 2 opportunities here for like Rotpriest. However, would still rather Royal Treatment here. Potentially they have some kind of like something like Fuel of Flames. But no, they do a double creature. That's a little bad for us. So hey, pay 0. I'll be here. And I think, given everything that's happened, and the fact they put 2 creatures out, I'll pay 0 again, and we'll go copy again. 9 copies of flying. No attacks. With 3 Rotpriests in play, realistically we need like 2 spells to trigger. Especially with 2 of them are flying. So, hey. Just a little worried. I've seen like people build in like Pyroclasm style stuff. Just got like rolled by it. But with them playing committing 2 creatures to the board, it's like okay, probably reasonable. I'm gonna go ahead and torch here. This isn't the end of the world, but they're gonna start accumulating poison counters pretty quickly. But this is obviously the best time to play it while we don't have protection. Anytime you do this and you have protection, it's obviously way worse. We get way more poison counters. I'm gonna kill 1 more. Okay, so they're gonna get up to 5. And we had the option maybe there to just go ahead. I'm gonna attack here. We'll make that or elf. Hold up the royal treatment. We'd obviously just make one copy, hold up royal treatment. Would have been reasonable. But the issue is if they have the 2 removal spells then, or God forbid, like torch, like burst lightning or something like that, we do expose ourselves a little bit. I'm not going to block here. I'm happy to take the 1. And still pay for higher claw. New here. Okay. We have Baloth, but we also have stock up. It's tricky. I think we want to find. They've not shown like they've not played like they have much damage. This could easily be a monstrous rage. Alright, I will go ahead and find both aspirants. We'll do this. We have them dead next turn. The higher claw counter is stopping us attacking, so it's like a reasonable shout. Whereas the hard heroes who might do some weird try and get chip block. But it looks like they mulligan. They're also this game they're low on resources. But we're gonna no blocks here. Ideally we don't just die. Just gonna pay in code for damage. And then our turn we will go ahead and aspirants and set on the veterinary Rotpriest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excuse me. Apologies. Yeah, cool. Now that takes us into game 3. Alright, well. Turning point of the video, because if we lose this one, then hey, we are dead. And it is single elimination. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with everything here. The 2 copies of Spell Pierce like are a little awkward, but if they've still got like if they have things like Lightning Strike in their deck, or things like no, I don't think you'd be bringing like Witches. In most red decks are just bringing like just sideboarding like 4 copies of Torch, but Spell Pierce at least trains kind of evenly mana wise with those. This is unfortunately so if you have like Llanowar, so if you don't have Rotpriest is obviously the most important card. Stock up normally your way around that. Versus red though, you don't really have time to get to 3 lands and cast this. You're going to be in a lot of trouble. You have the bounce off, it's like tempting, but we're also not guaranteed, so we should at least take 1 mulligan here. And this looks like a very similar hand, but I do not want to go down to 5. And we'll keep the 6, and we'll bottom the Tyvar stand. And see how things go. The Avamaya Coast being our only man is also a bit of a problem. Get a royal treatment. Here's Llanowar Elf. Yeah, this goes. The coast can be a bit of a giveaway as well. Like if they're thinking about it, like they're gonna bolt the bird. Yeah, makes sense. Curves out nicely. We do appear to be in trouble. I will say actually, I have a positive win rate versus red with this deck. It is not a horrible matchup, obviously. There. Morgan hurts. Maybe should have gone to 5. I was not super happy to do that on the draw. There's so many ways we lose. Battle's a challenger. But we are so far away. Alright, we have a Rotpriest. We need them to not have a removal spell, not to not have a monstrous rage, and for us to draw another land. And then maybe things start looking interesting. We have the challenger came back down as well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh no, they've got it. Yeah, there's a torch. We are unfortunately all kinds of dead. Alright, well. Interesting. So we got our 500. Let's just go pull the deck back open. Do a bit of a post-game wrap up. Like I said, hopefully back in the I have a bunch of Explorer stuff actually kind of like lined up to like record with, including like green-white hammer with Colossus, some root stuff. There's some pretty fun stuff going on. But yeah, this has been one of the things I've been messing around with. and this is the standard deck that I've got like sleeved up at the moment. We did unfortunately lose to red there. I think we got a little rough with the mulligans, but that is the nature of the game. I do actually have a positive win record with a deck versus red. The matches where I say this is like struggles a little bit is like it is Esper really, which is a bit of a, like it is one of the most popular decks in the format. When the Pro Tour happened and everyone was playing like Domain for a week, I like had a gigantic climb, but and this deck is very good versus Domain. But versus Esper you struggle a little bit, and that's why I've overloaded the sideboard a little bit with these Obstinate Baitloths. It's not totally unwinnable, but like No Way Out is a very very hard card to play around, and is like almost super targeted. Honestly, I don't like it. Spell business help there. There are some interesting flag slots. So the stock ups are really important. I think building this way, basically the pairing of Llanowar Elves with stock up, both getting extra mana to use for your different like common pieces of interaction, but then also being able to lean into this like stock up game plan to either rebuild or find the required necessary pieces, is the best way to play this version of Toxic. There is the Ban Toxic deck. I think that is just kind of just completely been powered out of the format really. And if you want to play Rotpriest and compete, I think this is the best way to do it. Even though Skrelv and friends are very very nice, you get some nice sideboard cards in white as well. Yeah. But yeah, as far as as far as like slots go, the things that I'm like not totally sure on, like I said, this Tyvar stand could easily be an overprotect, but like the mana is like a real thing here. The combination of kind of this like lineup of protection spells, there are a bunch of different things you could try. Ivy gives you this angle where you can like play a beatdown plan. You can play things like, I'm not saying it's like the correct thing to do, but you can do things like play Giant Growth and actually try and like beat people down with Llanowar Elves and Ivy. Is certainly an option. The Aspirants Ascents though are really really solid. This pairing here make both Ivy very very good and like kind of like help you get through a bunch of damage. Being able to just like draw a bunch of cards off of Enigma Ivy is really really solid. The Spell Pierces, the Royal Treatments, the Snake's Conveil, and the Tyvar stand, those can all be kind of flexed around. Similarly, we're playing like quite a high number of bounce spells. You can play a more Serum Snares, less bounce offs, or even cut some of these to make room for more interaction stuff. Oh well, more other interaction. I would want at least like 3 copies of bounce off, and then you kind of mess around up here. As I mentioned, I also had like this down at some points. There are points where you want to like bounce your own creature, get like an extra Rotpriest trigger. It can be helpful, and sometimes you will find yourself like bounce offing your like creatures to protect them as well. So worth bearing in mind. But yeah, I do think this deck is really really solid, and is what I have sleeved up at the moment to play with like paper RCQs. Standard is a tad bit soft, and I should also add that the blue-black mid-range decks I actually find to be more reasonable than the Esper variants, because the Esper variants clock you so fast with the 1-drops. But hey, that's kind of a here and over. Neither here nor there, I guess. But yeah, would recommend giving it a shot. If you've got any ideas or suggestions, please do let me know in the comments. And if you're not already, please subscribe to the channel. I'd really, really appreciate it. And yeah, also, big thing, I guess, is that if you're interested in standard stuff, my like speciality, in quotes, tends to be like Explorer, Pioneer. However, I've been playing a lot of standard for ICQs, and that's likely to continue. And I'm very happy to make standard content on Arena as well, even though Pioneer, even though Wizards isn't showing it as much love right now. I think the format is still super super sweet, and I have a bunch of stuff I want to record with, and it will still, I think, remain my main focus. And you might even see the odd timeless video coming out, but that's holding breath on that to see how things go and how they add cards to the format over the shape of the year. They actually made like a really nice change to like lower rarities on bonus sheets, but they've not done that retroactively. So like if I want Frogmites, they're still 4 mythic wildcards, which is, hey. Yeah, anyway, I'm on long enough. It's a short video. I did have 2 runs at this, I should say. Like 2 runs of the standard metagame challenge with Toxic. But I'm only going to upload this one. If I have time, I'll maybe look at another. Yeah, like root stuff coming, hammer stuff coming, have a bunch of have some vehicle stuff to mess around with, all for Pioneer Explorer. And let me know if you like the standard content and you want me to keep uploading that as well. But yeah, we'll be back to uploading. Probably, well, definitely not daily like I was doing, but ideally a couple of times a week. We'll work a balance out. As I got really, really burnt out doing this alongside working full time, and yeah, I do still enjoy it, and I know people were asking. So hey, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Peace out.